What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We got a special edition today for you. NBA draft, kind of what we did with the NFL draft, just kind of streaming it. Obviously not the actual draft, because whatever license we do have will just get kicked off of YouTube. But we're going to just react to the draft as it goes by. Obviously see what the Nuggets do. We're at pick, 8 now? Pick 9? Looks like Franz Wagner just got taken from Michigan. So he's going to go to Orlando. And on the clock now is Sacramento, who's been in the news today. Possibly a Buddy Hield trade, which, I mean, we'll talk about the Lakers too at some point, I'm sure. But my goodness, if I was LA, I would probably went with my favorite Buddy instead of Russell Westbrook. I did not understand that at all, but we can get to that. But crazy draft so far. Well, I mean, I guess not too crazy. Let me go over the... So obviously Cunningham was the projected number 1 pick. He goes
have
1.
Have you watched Cunningham at all? I mean, we can go pick by pick and see and just say what we kind of think about these guys.
I mean, I watched his scouting tape. You know, a guy who's just... He's kind of the modern do-it-all 6'8", 6'9" prototype build. You know, he's like a point forward, essentially. Right. I mean, that's just what you're seeing in today's game. He can shoot, he can score, he's a good passer.
He's what Ben Simmons was supposed to be.
Right. Solid defensively. I didn't watch much on Green or Mobley. I know Mobley's the big. I think Mobley's just one of those more athletic guys. I don't know if he can stretch the floor. I didn't see that.
Yeah, so real quick. So Green, I really like. He was one of few that went to the G League instead of going to college. He averaged, I think, 16, 4-4, 16, 5-5 in the G League, which I think that alone is pretty impressive. I mean, you are going up against professional players, some guys who've been in the NBA, some guys who haven't, but I think the competition is probably slightly better, I would say, than going to college. But athletic, just kind of athletic freak, 6'6". I think he has a chance to be the best player in the draft in 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, I would say the top 3 all have a good chance at being the best player in this draft in 5, 6, 7 years. They all do different things, but I think Green is more of that prototypical 2-guard that you would want at 6'6", can defend 1 through 3. He can shoot a little bit, needs to get a little bit better from 3. But, I mean, super athletic guy. He's kind of like, I guess, a little like Anthony Edwards, right? But Edwards, I think, was smaller. He's like 6'4". And then a lot of people like Mobley. Mobley is someone. I forget who it was, but they described Mobley as a guy who, imagine Jokic who could play defense, is what they said.
Really?
He's a good passer, not the passer that Jokic is. We're not going to go crazy like that, but he's a good passer. He's 7 feet tall, really long, really good shot blocker, really good defender, but he's faster. So he's a more athletic guy, so he can actually defend 3 through 5, and he can shoot from the outside. He can
I'm looking at his scouting tape right now. I mean, he's 7 foot with a 7'4" wingspan.
Yeah. And someone also compared him to Giannis when Giannis came out. You know, now Giannis wasn't quite as tall at that point, but, you know, basically 7 feet tall, really skinny, but Mobley can shoot.
He's a modern big.
He's a modern big. He's a modern big, yeah. So if he fills out and can still continue to shoot the ball well, good passer, he can handle the ball. I think that's right in line with guys like who have just won MVPs the last 3 years, Giannis and Nikola Jokic. He's kind of he's that type of player where he can handle the ball at 7 feet tall, a solid passer. He can shoot. He's athletic. He can get to the rim. He can defend. He's a really good defender. So I think that's why a lot of people compare him to more of a Giannis, but it's so hard to compare someone to Giannis because of what Giannis does. I mean, he just plays bully ball. But like when Giannis came out, I think that's where people are like, okay, he's an athletic guy. He can play really good defense, but he can shoot. And I think that's the difference. So I really like all three of them. If I had to choose, like if I could only have one player, I think I would have probably chosen Mobley.
I mean, he moves really well for his size.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like he can guard 3 through 5 at 7 feet tall.
He's, a lot of big guys like that, they're kind of goofy and kind of like Bol. They're kind of like gangly and like weird looking. He just looks smooth and fluid.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think he is, if you want, and I hate saying this, but he's the next Giannis, where I think teams can look at him and be like, what Giannis just did. If Mobley, now obviously you got to have that work ethic, you got to have that thing that Giannis has, that he wanted to get better, he wanted to get stronger and bigger. But if Mobley is willing to do that and put in that work, yeah, he can get there as long as he stays healthy, and his shooting is way better than when Giannis was coming out. Like, he could be a hybrid between, if you want to get crazy in comparisons, he could be a hybrid between KD and Giannis.
I could see why someone would think that. I mean, he looks like he has one of those body types to where he might not be able to put on a ton of muscle.
Right.
Now, he can either go the Giannis route, to where Giannis was super skinny when he came in, but he's obviously, ripped and huge now. And then you have KD, who put on a little muscle as time went on, but he's still, for the most part, pretty gangly. I mean, this is so nuts. The NBA is so crazy. Like, the way basketball players are just
I mean, the
evolving.
The talent,
is just nuts.
The talent is absurd. We by the way, I just pulled up the stream. So Sacramento just picked up Davion Mitchell. A small
I like that
guard
kid,
who
dude.
can just score. You want to talk about comparisons? It's funny because his name is very similar. Donovan Mitchell, 6'1", but the dude can just score. And that's what Davion Mitchell is. He just went to Sacramento. So unfortunately, he probably will never turn out to be anyone. Because he is going to Sacramento.
He's just a dog, though. I remember watching that national championship game, and their guards, him included, they got after Gonzaga.
Yeah.
They just picked them up, and I was like, who does he play for? Who is that guy? Mm-hmm. At first, I thought he was related to Donovan Mitchell because of the last name, and he wears the same number. And I was like, is that like his brother or something that I don't know about? But he is, he can defend. That's where he impressed me most. Now they're showing his scoring highlights right now, but I mean, it is Sacramento, so I mean, I don't.
And like, that's the unfortunate part is, these guys could have talent, but most times when guys become bust, it's mainly because of the team who
the situation.
Yeah, the situation. For example, Buddy Hield, and we'll kind of get into Buddy Hield a little bit later. Obviously, there's trade talks earlier today, but. You get drafted by New Orleans, then a terrible situation over there. You get traded to Sacramento, another terrible situation. What if Buddy Hield had come to Denver instead, and he was alongside, and let's say New Orleans traded him to Denver. Let's say they traded him for Gary Harris, 4 years ago or whatever, however long ago that was. Then is Buddy Hield a much better player than he is now? Probably, because he's asked to do different things. Now, obviously, that's on him to accept those things and, be willing to defend, be willing to play make for others. And that's something that I don't know if he'd be willing to do, but it really is depending on your situation. And it sucks because I think Sacramento is one of those teams where, and Orlando is just one of those teams where it's like, yeah, you get drafted there, you have talent, but the team is just, the organization is just so bad that you're never going to have opportunities to really get better.
Careers go to die there.
Mm-hmm.
Was Buddy in Jamal's draft?
Yes.
They were in the same draft.
Yeah.
Because they took Buddy right before
because
Jamal. Because I was devastated.
Right. We wanted Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield
so bad.
Buddy Hield can just score. And he looked like a guy who could come into the league and average 25, 5, and 5. Not quite to that level, obviously, but he looked like that. He was capable of doing that. I think the issue too with Buddy Hield is he was a little bit older.
Yes.
So that was kind of unfortunate. If he had come into the league a little bit sooner, maybe things would be different too. And Jamal, obviously, at 19 years old, came in and obviously looks like a great pick. But going down the list, I thought it would go Cunningham, Green, Mobley, Suggs. What Jalen Suggs did over in Gonzaga, the guy can score, 6'4". I mean, I thought that was the type of guard that Toronto would really want, especially because they're more than likely losing Kyle Lowry. And I thought Jalen Suggs could just fit right in to what they would want to do. I'm shocked that they went with Scotty Barnes. Now, I like Scotty Barnes, and I think Scotty Barnes was one of those guys that you sent me, right? That you really liked.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, whoa, look at this guy. But you know what I think this is? This might be in preparation in case they lose Siakam. This might be for that purpose.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Toronto's in a weird spot because you won the NBA Finals, 2 years ago? So
yes,
you're gonna lose Lowry. Siakam is possibly going to get traded. Zaire Williams just went to New Orleans. We're trying to we can just go one by one and catch up here. Just make sure you follow Twitter for trades. But Scotty Barnes, I don't really. I would have rather had Jalen Suggs still. Like Scotty Barnes, I don't know about his. I don't know if he's gonna translate to the NBA. Like he almost reminded me of a guy like, I can never remember his name, but Charlotte took him a long time ago.
Michael K. Gilchrist.
Yeah, Michael K. Gilchrist, a wing guy that, you maybe could think that if he could figure out how to score and shoot the ball a little bit better, he could become a guy, right? That's who Scotty Barnes reminds me of. So I'm not sure. I don't like that pick. I could be completely wrong. I was wrong about Luka, so but yeah, that's kind of who I thought Scotty Barnes is kind of like. So I don't know. What did you see? Because I haven't done a whole lot of research on Scotty Barnes. What did you like from Scotty Barnes?
Yeah, I'll have to, because that was a couple weeks ago that I sent you that. But I think when I was watching his player breakdown and Adam Spinella, who I've been just addicted to his scouting report videos as of late. I think if I remember correctly, he was just a guy who is a scorer defensively. He'll get after you and a good passer. I'm pulling up Spinella's.
So he averaged over in I'm looking at NBA Draft.net where they usually have a player comparison. They compare him to Jabari Parker and Draymond Green, and I actually really agree with that. He shot 50% from the field, but only 27 from three. He averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He's a guy, and 1.5 steals and a half block per game. He's a guy, I like the Draymond Green comparison. I really like that. He can play both ways. He's a two-way guy at 6'8", 6'9", but I don't love his offensive game.
Yeah, now I remember. So athleticism, playmaking, and defensive impact. So he's not a shooter. Mm-hmm. That's one of his weaknesses, which I'm hesitant on. Like, the guys that have stuck out to me that I like, Deuce McBride, although he's undersized, a guy who can score. He's a tenacious defender at 6'2", 6'3". I just sent you today Jared Butler, who might be my sneaky new favorite one, but I found out earlier, I guess he has some sort of heart condition, which might scare teams away. But, the Nuggets are not shy about taking risks on guys with injury history, or some sort of checkered past when it comes to the medicals. So I think Butler would be fun. I'm seeing a lot of people mention this Book Knight. I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name.
Yeah, has he been taken yet? or is he dropping?
No.
Wow,
Well, I
he's
just saw Mike Singer say that he's dropping. So I was gonna pull up his. It looks like he's a guard from UConn.
Yeah, so a lot of people like him.
I was gonna look up his video real quick just to see, get a feel for him. 20 years old. He's 6'5". Not sure of his wingspan. Scoring upside, athleticism, finishing.
This mock draft that I'm looking at had him going at 6, so he's really dropping. Comparison was CJ McCollum. He's a guy who can score, like flat out can score. He averaged 18.7 points per game, 5.7 rebounds. He's not a passer. He averaged 1.8 assists. Shot 44% from the field, 30% from three. His freshman year, he shot 35% from three. So he's that a little. He's a little bit bigger than CJ McCollum at 6'5", but he can just he's a scorer. That's what he can shoot. He can score. His defense is meh. So maybe I don't know why he's dropping, other than the fact that he's already 21, or he will be 21 this year. So that again, I feel like age is something that a lot of people just get really thrown off.
See, I don't know if I want a guy that can just be straight scoring. That's why, there's guys like Trey Mann from Florida who's all scoring. I just don't know if I think we need a guy that's in between. You've seen a lot of Chris Duarte. A lot of people like him, the guy out of Oregon. But from what I've seen, he's a better help side defender rather than on ball. Now he has good skills to be on ball defender. But I mean, that's why I like Deuce McBride, Jared Butler, Jaden Springer from Tennessee, I think is where he's at. Who that's Blackburn's guy. That guy is. He could move his feet defensively, and he'll get after you. So I think they need one of those guys, one of those traditional two guards.
I would say Joshua Primo, or Primo.
Mm-hmm.
That
Alabama.
Yeah, he's now.
Nope, there goes Book Knight to Charlotte.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not quite. They're not back from break yet, but yeah. Primo is a guy where he was kind of hidden on that roster with Alabama. They didn't really highlight anyone. All five guys just played really good team basketball. They were a really good team. But he's a guy who can do everything. He's just 18 and a half years old, 6'5", 190, has a lot of room to grow. Comparisons are someone like Gary Trent Jr., which I love. I think that's someone that would be great in Denver. So that's someone. He can shoot the three. He's a solid defender. I like him. He's really athletic. So that's someone that that I would, if he drops, where if I'm Denver, maybe I look at him. So but continuing going down the rest of the draft real quick. Let's see who. So we had, obviously, it was Cade, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Suggs, Josh Giddey. Did you do any research on Josh Giddey?
I had never heard of him. I was watching his scouting tape before we got started, and it looks like he's like 6'8", 6'9". He's big passer, playmaker, things like that. Has a really stiff shooting motion. He's kind of frail. He's kind of like same guy, similar skills as Poku, who they took last year. So, I mean, sure, it just feels like a reach. I mean, I haven't done a ton of research on him. Like I said, I just briefly watched some of his his scouting video that Adam Spinella did, but he just looks like a creative passer and everything like that.
In the 2021 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select James Bouknight from the University of Connecticut.
So yeah, there's the pick, James Bouknight. Yeah, I don't know. I never really heard of Josh Giddey either. 7. This one was actually there was a trade. So, or no, there wasn't. Okay, so Jonathan Kuminga went to Golden State. I love that for Golden State. remember when they won 72 games? It's funny because I always think that for some reason like KD was on that team, but it wasn't. It was Harrison Barnes. Jonathan Kuminga, I think now he's listed as a power forward. He could be your Draymond Green kind of replacement in the future, but he can also score. I feel like what they could do is roll out a lineup and put Kuminga at the 3 if they wanted to. If they wanted to trade Wiggins later on or whatever, or they lose Wiggins later on, Kuminga can slide in and play the 3 as well. So I love that pick for Golden State. I think that's probably best player available for them at that point. They could have gone with Davion Mitchell, but he's a point guard. You just I don't know.
I think they want a guy that's going to impact right away.
Right. So Bouknight could have been interesting with Golden State as well, but I think size for them, because again, they're good at point guard and shooting guard, right? So now you could always move Klay to the 3. But I like the Kuminga pick. I think he adds some defense. He's a guy who, like I said, he can score. I like his offensive game. He's 6'7", so that's why I say he's not a power forward. The comparison, NBA comparison, I don't know about this one, but this would be great for Golden State. Jaylen Brown, but Jonathan Kuminga in the G League averaged 15.8 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2.7 assists, shot 38% from the field and 24% from 3. So he didn't shoot the ball well. He did shoot the ball well in high school, though, so I think that's something he can get better at. So I really like that pick for Golden State a lot. I don't know if you've done any research on Kuminga.
No, I didn't do much on Kuminga, so I'll take your word for it. I didn't know he was 6'7". He looked bigger when he was walking up to the stage. I thought he was like a 6'9", 6'10" guy. But I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, Draymond's, I mean, he's on the doorstep of, I don't want to say retirement, but I mean, can't imagine he'll be there.
Yeah.
Much longer.
I don't know. I don't see Kuminga being a power forward. That's the only thing. He's so undersized for a power forward. Now, then again, I mean, Draymond's undersized, so I don't know. I think you can slide him in at the 3. But and then at 8 was Franz Wagner. I know nothing about Wagner. 6'9", combo forward is what kind of is said about him. I don't know. 6'10".
I think I remember watching him when they were in
Michigan.
Yeah.
Belicia
a couple years ago.
Mike Dunleavy Jr. is his comparisons. Look, for Orlando. I think you could have. Was there a trade? Because I thought Orlando had gotten someone else.
They picked earlier. Who did they get? They did get someone earlier. They got a guard.
Why am I seeing Wagner? Did they make a trade?
Let me see. Let me go back. Well, they got Suggs.
Oh, so they traded with. Oh no, they didn't. So they had 2 picks. They had 5 and 8. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I was saying, because they have a roadblock at the guard spot. They have 7 guards.
See, I wouldn't. I guess I see. Instead of taking Wagner, I would have traded that. I would have just traded down. Because right after Davion Mitchell goes, there was a ton of guards. I would have just traded down. To be honest, that's tough. That was a tough spot for them. They could always trade that pick, but I think they reached on Wagner a little bit.
And after that, you got Davion Mitchell.
I really like Davion Mitchell, but he's in Sacramento now, so that's kind of tough.
He's fun, man. Like I said, in that national championship game, him and Butler got after those guys. Suggs included. Like, they just got into those dudes, and they made their lives just miserable that entire first half. And they both could score. They both could shoot. It's impressive. Let's see. Looks like Spurs are going to take Josh Primo.
Are you serious?
Mm.
Of course, the Spurs are taking Josh Primo.
Because Woj and Shams are going at it on Twitter.
Well, there goes
So,
my favorite pick, at least in the 20s. But look, I mean that shows. From what I saw from Josh Primo, he's a lottery pick. Like I saw some mock drafts had him in the 20s. I was like, this dude's really good. I mean, I think that's a fantastic pick for San Antonio. That's a great pick. They probably could have got him later on, so they could have traded down. But that's and like for the Spurs, I think they've had a great history of drafting guys. So
yeah,
yeah, Josh Primo. I think Josh Primo is gonna end up having probably a pretty nice career over there in San Antonio.
It's another young guy you
Dang
can
it,
pair in
man.
the backcourt with Murray. Depending on what they do with DeMar DeRozan. I mean that's a talk about from where the Spurs were to where they are now. Like that's just a team where they're just trying to figure things out. And they're just trying to get as much young talent as possible. But while we're waiting for the Nuggets pick, I want to get to the Russell Westbrook stuff cuz I just don't understand what the Lakers are doing. That team's going to have terrible spacing. And it's just going to be attack the basket 100 times a game, which might work to their benefit. But I don't like, yes, it's another all-star, it's another future Hall of Famer, but like to me, that doesn't scare me. Does it scare you, Russell Westbrook on the Lakers?
No, because what have we talked about with building around LeBron? You want to get shooters. So now
Right.
you have two. Look, Russ, he averaged a triple-double last season, right? Is that what?
He's been averaging a triple-double for like the last 4 years.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but he's really struggled to shoot the ball. And so I don't. How the Lakers are building around LeBron is not how I would build around LeBron. And
No.
you trade Kyle Kuzma, and for all the crap Kyle Kuzma gets, he spreads the floor, and he can
Does
also
he?
he can, yeah. Well, you can shoot better than Russ. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
I
that's
I
true.
don't. I don't really. They need to find shooters. They need to find shooters, and not just shooters, but scorers, because they got rid of one of their better shooters in Caldwell Pope. So, look, Montrezl Harrell was never a great fit. Why? Because he can't shoot. Kuzma wasn't a great shooter, but he could shoot. But obviously, he was struggling over there. So you have to figure out something with him. So you have to use a trade piece. I thought Buddy Hield would have been a great addition to the Lakers. I would have been more scared if Buddy Hield was over there in LA.
I agree.
And not Russell Westbrook. Now, I did see someone on Twitter say, well, obviously these deals don't get finished until the 6th. That means you can add a third team. Well, they have a big contract with Dennis Schroeder. So what you could do is you could get Sacramento into this deal, send Dennis Schroeder to wherever, throw in some picks, and you could land Buddy Hield as well. So then if you're rolling out a lineup with Russ, Hield, LeBron, AD, and Drummond, then I'm like, okay, because now you got someone in Buddy Hield who can score and who can be a lethal scorer. And then you could kind of, with Russ and LeBron, yeah, they're starting, but you can kind of, at that point throughout the game, kind of just switch them on and off, right? Because they essentially do the same things. So at that point, it would really work. But you like I said, you need to go out and get someone at the 2 that can score. Because if they just get another defender, they're going to be a good defensive team, but they won't be able to score.
No. Well, and they wanted another guy to take the ball out of LeBron's hands to lighten the playmaking duties. I guess that the whole Chris Paul to LA thing is now dead. So I guess we can rest on that. But it's just, I just don't. It just feels weird. It just feels really weird. Russ and LeBron. I just don't think it's gonna work very well. But I mean, who knows? I mean, they could shock us. I just don't love it. But I mean, talk about. I mean, your KCP. He literally just like a year before this last season, didn't he sign an extension with the Lakers? And then they trade him. Not more than 2 years later, Montrezl just gets there, and you're gone. And then Kyle Kuzma, I mean, he just burned out. Like it was just time for a change of scenery for him.
It's just a change of scenery will be good for him, but I don't know if he'll be good for him in Washington. So I don't.
Yeah,
you
get a fresh start, but you're going to Washington. So sorry about that. Have fun. See ya. So, I mean, we talk about Sacramento, where careers go to die. I guess if Bradley Beal's there, you're still semi-relevant. It's the East, and maybe you make a playoff run again. But yeah, part of me feels bad for Kyle Kuzma, but at the same time, I'm like, people crown this guy as the next big star. They gave up Brandon Ingram. He was the piece that the Lakers did not want to part with at all in the AD trade. And now look, you have Ingram turns into an all-star, and you have Kyle Kuzma getting shipped off to the Wizards. So it's funny how sports work.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad for him, though.
I just think that's it's a weird trade. We'll see. Obviously, the Lakers are rebuilding their whole roster, so it's not over. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But if they can bring in another scorer, then it can work. But I don't know who, unless they manage to somehow work around and get Buddy Hield. But Schroeder, I don't know if you've heard, but the things around Schroeder were not good over there in LA. So yeah, that's kind of the buzz that I saw on Twitter and have seen on some of the national shows. You know what's funny now, though, is Russell Westbrook has now played on more teams than Kevin Durant. Yeah.
Like the guy who preached loyalty and everything,
well,
he's
to be
now
fair,
been
he's
on...
been traded every time.
But now it's OKC.
All right,
then
here's Indiana's pick.
Houston. Who else did he play for? Washington, and then now.
The Indiana Pacers select Chris Duarte from Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic.
I haven't done any research on him, so I don't know. I don't know if you have, but
Chris Duarte?
Yeah.
He's a smooth shooter. Offensive game is really nice. He can score at all three levels. Defensively, he's got the tools, I think, to where he could be a good on-ball defender. I mean, I think he's a legit... I want to say he's like 6'7", 6'6", but kind of gets lost at times. Good help side defender, I guess, from Adam Spinella's videos, but his main thing is he could shoot. So yeah, he's 6'6", 190. I mean, he's got a pretty stroke. Like, pull up, step back, off ball, on ball. He can put the ball in the basket.
Okay.
He's just good.
All right. Well,
So-
that's what Indiana needs. They need a guy who can score because
Yeah, him next to Brogdon will be fun. I don't know where Warren... I mean, I guess he's a 3, but... Yeah, I mean, that's... I don't know. I liked him, but... I mean, I didn't want Denver to trade up for him because, I want a guy that can do it both ways. And that's why I really like Butler and McBride. They both can do it both ways. Now, they both have their weaknesses, but... And, Jaden Springer a little bit less I like. I'm not as high on because he's not a great shooter. But... I don't know. we'll see if the Nuggets could possibly trade up. There was the rumors that the Nuggets were thinking about trading up. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they trade up in the 20s because they're sitting at 26, but
Yeah, I mean, you know another guy that I've heard actually a lot of good things, but he might just be a second round guy. Is Isaiah Todd.
I feel like I've heard the name.
He's 6'10". He's a power forward / center. He played in the G League. I think he would have been. See, it's funny because I remember looking a couple years ago at this draft class, and he was up maybe in the top 10, top 15. Went to the G League. He is almost 20. He averaged in the G League 12 points, 5 rebounds, shot 43% from the field and 36 from 3, which is actually pretty good. So I like Isaiah Todd actually quite a bit. If that ended up being the pick, I wouldn't be upset. What were some of the other, what were your guys that you just said as well?
So I like
Jared Butler.
I like Jared Butler, who's from Baylor. He was the backcourt mate with Mitchell. Deuce McBride, or Miles McBride is his actual first name, but his nickname is Deuce.
So both of those two guys in my mock draft are going 19, which is McBride, and 22 to the Lakers, which is Butler.
Yeah. So they might have to trade up for those guys. I mean, unless they fall. And then the other one was like Jaden Springer.
See, I really like Jaden Springer.
He's just not a shooter. That's the thing.
No, he's not. But you know what? If that's who you want, then they should take Trey Mann. Defensively,
though, I mean, Jaden Springer gets after it. So, I mean, I wouldn't hate the pick, but
what about Trey Mann?
He's no defense. He can score.
Yeah.
He's no defense.
And he's almost 21. Well, okay, what are you looking for if you're the Nuggets? Are you looking for someone who can come in and impact right away, or are you looking for more of a project? More of a guy who maybe can make an impact in year
I like Deuce McBride because I think he can take some of the playmaking duties off of, or like the ball handling duties off Jamal's hands. But it also depends on where they want to go. Where do the Nuggets feel like they need to go? Because with Will Barton opting out and JaMychal Green opting out, which I was shocked that both did it. Less shocked at Will Barton. More shocked at JaMychal Green. But do they feel like they need to get a big man? Because then you might go the Grimes route, who's a guy, spot-up shooter, 3-and-D guy. He's like 6'9", 6'10". I think he plays at Houston. But I like McBride because he could take some of those ball handling duties off of Jamal's plate. But if you get a guy like Jared Butler, he's also a combo guard who can handle. He's actually a really sneaky good playmaker too, which I like. So
Moses Moody just went to Golden State. I love that pick.
I'm seeing everybody freak out about that.
That's Golden State is gonna have a young team, but they're look. A lot of people are saying, well, Golden State needs to go and get Ben Simmons, or Golden State needs to go and get Bradley Beal. They need to win now. But let's look at their team now. You have Steph, Clay, Wiggins, who was fantastic defensively. He and as your third or fourth option scoring the ball, he can be pretty good. Draymond and James Wiseman, who's going to be in his second year. So now off the bench, you just took Josh Giddey, or not Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga, who is more of a defensive guy, playmaking type of guy, who you might want to replace Draymond with eventually. And now you take Moses Moody, who's a 6'6" shooting guard who can shoot the ball. Average 17 points a game, 5.8 rebounds, and he shot 36% from 3. So, NBA comparison: Joe Johnson, Robert Covington, Glenn Rice. I like this pick. If you're telling me that those two guys are coming off the bench for them as their 7th, 8th guys, I think Golden State's gonna be fine. Do they really need to go out and get Ben Simmons?
Or could those be trade pieces now? I mean,
True.
could those guys be a part of a trade piece for, if they feel like they need to get Bradley Beal, which I don't know how that would work, to be honest with you. Maybe those are trade pieces that they can throw in for a guy like that. But yeah, I mean, it was even without seeing who the Warriors drafted today, I think we all understood they're going to be back.
Mhm.
Depending on how good they were going to be, that was to be determined. But we all knew, like, Steph led them to the play-in game and almost the 8 seed just off of his back alone. So you get a healthy Clay. I mean, you have to think that's at least the bare minimum of 6 to 8 seed, if not better. James Wiseman comes back healthy. I don't know. Just hoping my guys drop. If we can come away with Jared Butler or Deuce McBride, I'll be happy. I don't really want Grimes. Jaden Springer, I like his defense. But I just want a guy that can at least score a little bit.
What about another big? Or
What guys are out
another
there?
guy that I've heard, and he's possibly a second round guy, but he's dropped. He was a first round guy before. Was BJ Boston?
I feel like I
Um,
watched his video too.
He's almost 20, averaged 11 points. He played in Kentucky, and so the reason why I thought this was interesting is because Kentucky had a lot of guys. Like, he's not going to be a star, right? But I think for him, you can, like, Kentucky had a weird year, but they get talent. So I feel like he's dropping based off of Kentucky's bad year, whereas I think he's a good player. Comparison is Nick Young. But his defense isn't great, but he has the size. He can get there at 6'7". I think that's someone that you could put at the 2.
Yeah. I guess I just don't know. The Nuggets are just in a weird spot. I just don't know how you approach this if you're Tim Connolly. I just don't, because if Will Barton leaves, now you have a hole there at that 2-3 spot. But we've always talked about wanting to get Jamal more off ball. We know we're thin behind Jokic. There's only one pick to fill all these spots. It looks like they're honoring Terrence Clark too. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, the Nuggets are in a weird spot, and this is why I think no matter who they take could just be a trade piece, to be honest.
Maybe. I'm kind of hoping they keep him though, because they find these diamonds in the rough, and it works really well. I don't know. And who's still on the board? Is there any big boards we can look at? Someone's got to have a big board somewhere I can look at. I mean, they have it on the broadcast, but we're at 15 now. Washington's back on the clock. Or I guess Washington's on the clock for the first time. Have they picked tonight?
No.
They haven't picked tonight. Here we go. Best available. Keon Johnson out of Tennessee, 6'5", 186.
Jalen Johnson, I really like. I'm actually surprised he's still there. I really like Jalen Johnson, but I mean, he's obviously going to go with the next couple picks. You would have to trade up, but I like him. Another guy that I've heard a lot of good things about is Usman Garuba. But for the Nuggets, do you want a 6'8" power forward / center? I mean, you have Zeke Naji, you have Aaron Gordon. I don't know what you want to do there. I like Trey Murphy a lot. He's a combo forward, 7-foot wingspan, 6'9". But he's a really good shooter. He's a guy who can score. He's a 3-and-D forward.
Yeah, Murphy. I've been calling him man the whole time.
And then there's, let's see.
Oh no, there's Trey Mann. Yeah, Trey Mann, the point guard. There we go. So there's Trey Murphy and Trey Mann.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I could have sworn his last name was Mann.
Isaiah Jackson out of Kentucky.
There's JT Thor out of Auburn if you want to go big. That's a guy who's athletic, not necessarily a floor spreader, but 6'10", 205, modern big.
Yeah. If you want to get another guy who can score too, I would look at Josh Christopher.
Guard.
Yeah, 6'4",
Shooting
6'5",
guard.
averaged 14 and 4. Didn't shoot the ball great, but he can score. He's a guy that was highly touted during the regular season, during the college season. He just didn't live up to expectations over there in Arizona State. But I mean, I think for the Nuggets, I would take a guy who has a high ceiling. That's what I would do. I'm not necessarily concerned about them impacting the team right away. One, because Malone doesn't play rookies. But two, because you're in a window here where if you can win a championship, I think this is a good year to, your window's open. So as long as Jamal comes back and is healthy and whatnot. So I think I think this free agency class is actually a really good class for Denver because it's a lot of the guys that's available is what they need, right? They need another guard. So you can go out and get your Lonzo Ball or DeJounte Murray or Kyle Lowry, whatever, right? So if you can do that in free agency, I think the spot where I would go is a guard who can handle and score. And then under Malone, he'll figure out the defense, hopefully. I mean, look at Porter. I mean, he improved drastically from year 1 to year 2. So
that's why I think if you got a guy like McBride or Butler, I think they'd play right away.
Sure, but I don't know if I'm looking for a point guard. You have Monte, you have PJ Dozier who can play the guard. Obviously, Jokic is your point guard. What if you go out and get Kyle Lowry? I'm thinking 2-guard. I'm thinking of a combo guard who can, he can handle the ball. I'm not looking for an undersized guard. I'm looking for more of 6'4", 6'5", 6'6".
So then that's Butler and Springer.
I'm looking at Springer, Trey Mann. I know people don't like his defense, but Trey Mann can just flat out score. And he's a guy that can, talk about he is a project on the defensive side, but he can come in and impact the team if you need another shooter. Because the Nuggets don't have guys who can shoot. And Trey Mann can shoot. So I think that's where I think I would go. I would have wanted Primo. I cannot believe Primo went 12. And the mock draft I'm looking at, they have him slotted at 26 at Denver. Like, the fact that he went 12 just honestly pisses me off. But Primo was my guy. I would say Trey Mann. I mean, Jared Butler is only 6'3". Jaden Springer is 6'4". I think even Josh Christopher. I've seen Josh Christopher just go out there and just put up buckets. I mean, Jaden Springer though, 46% from the field, 43% from 3. 3 rebounds, 3 assists. I would say I would go Jaden Springer 1, Trey Mann 2, Josh Christopher 3. That would be my ideal, like in order. That's where I would go.
Okay.
As Corey Kispert went to Washington, small forward out of Gonzaga, 6'7".
And Oklahoma City traded their pick.
Who did they trade their pick to?
Houston.
Okay, so they're picking for Houston right now at 16.
Yep. So Mike Singer just tweeted out potential Nuggets targets still on the board: Trey Murphy, Keon Johnson, Jalen Johnson, Usman Garuba.
I would love Jalen Johnson. He's not going to be there. I mean, Jalen Johnson would be my pick. Jalen Johnson should have been a top 12 pick. I don't understand what's going on there. I don't know why he's dropping. I really like Jalen Johnson.
The strengths, impressive combination of strength and explosiveness, 6'9", 220, strong lower body,
He
plays
shot
with physicality.
44% from 3.
See,
Over there in
extremely
Duke.
versatile defender.
And again, he
rotates for
played for a
blocks.
team where he was never going to average 15 plus a game. Not at Duke. Jalen Johnson, he's a bit older. He's almost 20, which is kind of shocking. But yeah, if Jalen Johnson's there, I mean, I don't know who you would trade up with. Maybe Oklahoma City. I mean, they have 2 picks here, 16 and 18. So I would love to have Jalen Johnson. I think that's a good pick for OKC though. Jalen Johnson over there in OKC with Shea. I think that's a great pick. I think that's where they go.
I mean, they traded it to Houston. So.
Well, at 18, I would take him.
Oh yeah. And they're giving up 2 future firsts.
Wow.
For the number 16 pick.
That's a lot. I mean, I guess they have a lot of picks. I don't know what Houston's doing though.
See.
By the way, I just want to say I really like what Cleveland is doing with Garland and now Mobley, and Jared Allen over there. I think that's because you
Jared Allen,
you could put
he's a
Mobley.
free agent though, right?
If they can re-sign him though, you could put Mobley at the 4 and Allen at the 5.
Didn't they just trade for Ricky Rubio too?
Yeah. They have a lot of guards over there too.
That's gracious. I thought the NFL draft took forever. Come on.
I know. This is
My gosh.
I don't know how much longer I can
Goodness
continue here.
gracious.
I mean, I'm probably gonna have to go by 8 to be honest. So this is taking forever.
Yeah, I mean, we're only at what pick?
16.
18? 16?
Yeah, 16. We got 10 more picks to go.
What is the Rockets doing? Well, I guess we're waiting since we didn't scout every single player, but the latest on Drew Lock. Have you been keeping up with how he's looked at camp?
Yeah, not shocker, not great.
He had a great first day apparently. Then today
He had
just
a good first day.
Yeah.
I saw no one say great.
He had a good first day, and then today it was that's why we brought in Teddy Bridgewater.
I don't like the fact that it's like a 50-50 because if you don't start Drew Lock week 1, you're pretty much saying it didn't work out and you're ready to move on, right? So if Teddy Bridgewater goes out there and craps the bed, well, what do you do?
Then I guess you go back to Drew Lock, I guess.
It's a disaster. Now, say you go Drew Lock, it's not working out, then you go to your veteran, Teddy Bridgewater, and then at that point, whatever, right? Because he's supposed to be a bridge quarterback anyways. So I think realistically, I would start Drew Lock no matter what. Hope he figures it out. If not, throw in Teddy and hope that a quarterback pops up out of nowhere because you blew it with Justin Fields, by the way, who's looking fantastic over there in Chicago.
I'd say the only way you don't start Drew Lock is if it's completely disastrous. Like he's just incompetent. He's throwing, Paxton Lynch type stuff. But I mean, if it's a tie, if it's close, just give it to Drew Lock. Because we know who Teddy Bridgewater is at this point. We think we know who Drew Lock is. I think we're about 75% sure of who Drew Lock is as a player. But if there's that glimmer of hope that he can, be something competent, then I'd rather see that than Teddy Bridgewater.
Alperen Sengun out of Turkey gets picked at 16.
Oh, bless you.
So going to Houston, I guess. I hate this. I hate how the NBA does this. He's wearing an Oklahoma City hat, picked by Oklahoma City, but Houston's picking, or we'll get him. It's dumb. Switch the hats. You have hats. Just come on. Announce the dang trade.
Oh wait, you got traded. Here, wear this one.
Like if I'm the player, I'm like, well, why do I have to wear this dumb hat? I don't want to wear this hat on my draft day. What if I go on to be the, greatest? Like, can you imagine it if Giannis wore a I don't know, Atlanta Hawks hat on his draft night? How crappy that kind of is because you end up.
Well, we hear it all the time as Nuggets fans. You traded away Donovan Mitchell.
Right.
You traded away Rudy Gobert.
No, we didn't. We traded the pick before they were even there.
Right, which people always forget. People always forget that the Nuggets may have selected those players, but they selected them for the Jazz.
Right.
They didn't choose the guy. They're like, we're just going to trade
Donovan
you now.
Mitchell was not supposed to be there. I mean, Tim Connolly, I think, has come out and said they did not think Donovan Mitchell was going to be there. If they knew, they would have kept the dang pick. But Donovan Mitchell was supposed to be a top 10 pick that year.
Pelicans are selecting Trey Murphy. 17.
Okay, well, there goes Trey Murphy. That's a good pick for them. The Pelicans, it's kind of unfortunate. I think the Pelicans are in a tough spot because I don't think they will ever, like, Zion's great, and I like Brandon Ingram. If you can keep Lonzo Ball, and just give the keys to Lonzo, just for first time in his career, he finally gets someone to actually believe in him fully. But I don't know. They just traded Steven Adams. Who did they get in return?
Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Zion, leave as soon as you can.
Yeah, I mean, you trade. I mean, I guess you get a big that can stretch the floor a little bit, but if you're Memphis, it's like, I mean, you traded Valanciunas for Steven Adams and
yeah, that trade did not make sense for both sides, other than Memphis getting picked 10. I don't know.
Well, I saw a report too that Steven Adams was trying to work on his shooting this offseason so he can be more useful and adapt to the game. And New Orleans is like, yeah,
like New
why
Orleans.
don't you go try that with another team?
New Orleans could have had Josh Primo, who would have fit perfectly there. You need a 2-guard, perfect. Hell, they could have had Book Knight, or they could have had. I don't know why you trade down there. I don't get it. Because Zaire Williams is going to Memphis. So we'll see who Memphis picks for New Orleans.
We're still 9 picks away. Goodness gracious. Trade up, Tim. Do something. I feel like the stick meme. That little character that's poking Tim
Well-
Connolly to do something.
While we wait a little bit, I'll be right back.
Okay. You do like